Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am, of course, John Campea, your host, and this is a special follow-up video to today's earlier The John Campea Show. Now, sometimes on The John Campea Show, I take in and get in enough Super Chat questions and comments that people send in that I run out of time to answer on the show, and so I like to do these little complimentary videos later in the day to answer those questions that I didn't have time to get around to earlier on today's show. Now, for those of you who are watching live, and I decided to do this show live just for fun, but for those of you who are watching live, don't send in any questions or chats or anything like that, because this particular video is for us to talk about the questions that came in a little bit earlier today, but by all means, feel free to chat amongst yourselves, those of you who are in the chat board. So, with all that out of the way, let's get down to business, and we start out with the first question that came in from Thrasher305, who wrote, chances that Disney will add the Fox fanfare back into the Star Wars films. I know it adds nothing to the film, but it hypes us nerds much more. Well, I don't think so. I don't think they will. And here's why I don't think they will. But it is possible. It is possible. I just don't think they will, and here's why. The company Fox, I believe, is still existing. Now, I was a little bit unclear about all this in the press releases. Now, I know Fox is keeping their business news, their sports, and a few other things that they're keeping. I don't know if that entity and company is still going to be called Fox or not. I'm a little bit unclear. If it is still going to be Fox, then I suspect that Disney will rename all those assets they bought from Fox, which means I don't know that 20th Century Fox, the film production studio, is still going to be called 20th Century Fox. Maybe it is. If it is, then it's possible we could see that fanfare, except that I don't think Fox... Oh, it's so convoluted. Even if they continue making Star Wars films, I don't think they'll be making them under the 20th Century Fox label. They'll be making them under the Lucasfilm label and just stick with that. So I do not expect one way or the other that we're going to see that Fox fanfare at the beginning of Star Wars movies any no. But who knows? Disney could find a way just for the fans to give them that little nostalgia kick. Maybe they'll find a way, but I don't think we should hold our breath in hoping that happens, because it just seems like there's too many ways that and too many roadblocks for that to happen. Just the way I kind of see it. All right, next question comes to us from Shivam Dixit, who writes, Star Wars The Last Jedi currently has an audience rating of 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. Did critics watch a different movie altogether? Well, I actually made a special video about this a little bit earlier today. That's a little bit misleading, because there are three major audience rating metrics out there, and only one of them is valid and real. The valid and real one is Cinema Score, because that's the only one that actually validates that people actually saw the movie. The other two are IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes has an audience rating. But both of those, anybody who has seen the movie or hasn't seen the movie can just go and vote multiple times. So you can't count on them. The IMDb audience rating is really good. It's at 81%, or 8.1 out of 10. That's 81%. The one on Rotten Tomatoes is not so good. It's at like 56%. So which one do you listen to? Because I've had people like writing to me all day, John, I see the great audience reviews, but you mean IMDb? Okay. Then people writing me, John, did you see the bad audience reviews? Oh, the one on Rotten Tomatoes audience reviews? But the point of the matter is, and I made a video about this earlier, is you can't listen to either of them, because both of them are totally just filled with people who haven't even seen the movie. You just go in there and vote. And the fact that they're so wildly different from each other kind of points to the fact that you can't listen to either the good one or the bad one. Let's wait to see how Cinema Score turns out. The Cinema Score is the true audience metric. And if it gets like a bad one, like a bad audience metric, like a B, or even as good as a B plus would be disappointing, if that's one thing. If it gets like an A minus, an A, then we know it's a positive audience rating. So let's wait to see how Cinema Score turns out before we kind of pass any judgment. We're going to probably within the next 24 hours, we'll know for sure. Good question, though. Next one comes to us from LeBurn007, who writes, keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever leave us. Thank you so much, LeBurn. People need to stop talking about merging DC television and the DCU. It's not going to fix anything. Leave them separate. Don't want to see an Ezra visiting Grant. I completely agree. And for those of you guys who've been watching me for any period of time, you know that's exactly how I feel as well. DC and Warner Brothers, they want to keep these television and these movie universes separate for a reason. The television stuff is working because it's on television and we have a different expectation level for it there. You take Flash and the Arrow as they are on television and put them on the movie screen, those movies will bomb. Bomb. And they will come across cheesy to us as well. On the television screen, the way they've set up their universe, it works great. It's wonderful. Leave it alone. It's enjoyable. Put that on the movie stuff, it'll totally bomb. So yeah, I agree with you totally. Do not merge these two together whatsoever. Thanks a lot for the question, LeBurn. Next one comes to us from Michael Can, who writes, big fan since the AMC days. I got my AMC shirt on here. Since the AMC days. Thank you for everything you do. I like that sweatshirt. Where can I get one? Oh, you're probably talking about the sweatshirt I was wearing earlier today. I had my World of Warcraft sweatshirt out, my hoodie. That's a great, you know what? It was given to me as a gift, and I cannot remember where it came from. I think actually somebody might have given it to me from Blizzard. I feel bad, but I'll find out. I'll find out where I got it from, and I'll see if I can post some information about that. Thanks a lot for the comment, Michael. Next one comes to us from Sam Fisher. And Sam Fisher writes, just bought the Greatest Showman soundtrack, and I'm loving it. My favorite song is The Greatest Show, but I think This Is Me or Rewrite the Stars will get Oscar nominations. Guys, oh my God, if you have not listened to the Greatest Showman soundtrack, it's spectacular. It's great. And you've already mentioned a couple of the big songs there, Sam. This is The Greatest Show. This Is Me. From Now On. I think From Now On might be my favorite song. The soundtrack is just mind-blowing. I hope the movie turns out to be even half as good as the soundtrack. Because the soundtrack, I've listened to it so many times the last few days. Hugh Jackman is such a well-rounded entertainer. The dude sings and he's got pipes. And it's great listening to that. There's this great duet as well between him that he sings with Zac Efron. And you forget, man, Zac Efron could really sing too. It's an incredible soundtrack. I cannot wait for this movie. One of my most anticipated films this year. So yeah, Greatest Showman, if you've not listened to the soundtrack yet, check it out. Treat yourself. Find it online. Find it on YouTube. Find it on Google Play Music. Find it wherever you want to listen to it and listen to it. It's so good. And it'll make you excited for the movie. I just hope the movie doesn't suck. All right. Next one comes to us from Brian Post, who writes, do you think Disney has any interest in releasing new films under the Fox Searchlight banner? The type of films it releases aren't in line with the kind of Disney typical produces. Thank you very much. Well, hey, listen, Disney has put out many smaller artsy kind of films before. They absolutely have. Films like $1 Million Arm and things like that. I think it would be a really nice move on their part to leverage something like Fox Searchlight. Because Fox Searchlight is kind of in the business of putting out Oscar caliber films. And by the way, I'm doing this show live, and even though I'm not taking live questions, BB-8 Reviews just decided to put in a super chat contribution. Thank you so much, BB-8 Reviews. So back to Fox Searchlight, I think they would be very wise to leverage that. I mean, it all depends on where they want to spend their resources, of course. But I, for one, I'm with you, Brian. If they decided to utilize the Fox Searchlight infrastructure and continue on making films like Fox Searchlight puts out, I think that can't be anything but good. Again, it all depends on how Disney wants to leverage its resources. So let's see how that turns out. All right, next one comes to us from Curtis Lopez, who simply writes, would you be a Jedi or a Sith? Honestly, Jedi. Even though in World of Warcraft, I usually play, 8 times out of 10, I play Horde. I mean, like my main World of Warcraft character is an undead mage. Named Darth Rampage. So that's my name on there. But in terms of Star Wars stuff, Jedi. Jedi are way cooler than Sith. So I would definitely be Jedi. Ben Rayner writes in, do you know, is there a reason why the Death Wish remake moved from their November 2017 date to March 2018? No idea. No idea. It could be something to do with maybe they found some things they want to change. Maybe they just think they looked at it, the release schedule a little bit more and thought it'd be a friendlier release schedule. Maybe they're not happy with the state that their marketing campaign is in, and they just want to reset and kind of start a marketing campaign again, and they need more time, and a March 2018. And really, a move from like November 2017 to March 2018 isn't that big of a leap. It's not that big of a stretch. But I really, honestly, I hadn't heard anything else. Mostly, I think the reason we haven't heard anything about the reasoning is because I don't think anybody's really interested in the movie. I mean, I'm not sensing from the film fan community like a lot of excitement about this Death Wish movie, but who knows? Maybe it could be great, maybe not. But other than that, they haven't really put out, at least I haven't heard any official reason why. If you've heard some official reasons why, please share them with everybody else in the comment section below. All right, Gerardo Riez writes, "Hey John, love your show. Keep up the great work." Thank you so much, Gerardo. I really appreciate that. Ben Rayner writes, "Jumanji comes out next Wednesday on December 20th, not even a week after The Last Jedi. Like Greatest Showman and Jumanji both." Actually, I made a mistake on the John Campea Show earlier today. I put it in the comments section. But I mentioned that Jumanji and The Greatest Showman don't come out until the week after that. But I was wrong because I read the release schedule wrong. Because I was reading the release schedule on Box Office Mojo. And the way it listed it is Friday the 15th, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Then it said Friday the 22nd, Pitch Perfect. And then under that was Jumanji and Greatest Showman, but under Friday the 22nd was Wednesday the 20th. So they put it out of order. So when I looked at it, I didn't look at it closely enough. So the way my mind interpreted it was, oh, next Friday is Pitch Perfect 2, and the Friday after that is Jumanji and Greatest Showman, but really it was the 20th, so I misread it. And yeah, that's going to be interesting. Because these are both, for their own reasons, these are two big movies. Jumanji is more of a blockbustery, and Greatest Showman is an Oscar bait movie, and they're coming out just like 4 or 5 days after The Last Jedi. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these things play out at the box office. All right, Siobhan Dixit writes, "Critics saying they need multiple viewings to know how they feel about The Last Jedi. No other film gets this treatment. Why Star Wars? No movie should require multiple viewings to enjoy it." Thoughts? Well, Siobhan, you're dead wrong. I come out of lots of movies where I hear other people and sometimes fellow critics saying, this is one I need to see again to really know how I feel about it. And that's not, no, I heard a lot of people saying that about Justice League. I heard a lot of people saying that about a number of films this year. I mean, I hear it all the time, but one out of every, I mean, for me, myself, about 1 out of every 5 or 6 films, I come out and going, okay, I have my initial reaction, but I feel like I need to see it again to really know what I think. I mean, that happens to me about 20% of the time. It probably happens to a lot of other people a certain percentage of the time. So to say that, first of all, not a lot of people are saying that about The Last Jedi, at least not in the critic circles. But to say that no other film gets this treatment, yeah, they do. Actually, quite often. I say it myself a lot. That doesn't mean I don't give my first initial reaction. I do. You know I do. But yeah, there's a number of movies that people come out of every once in a while, but 1 out of every 5, 6, or 7 films, people come out of, particularly critics, and go, okay, here's my first reaction, but I feel I need to see it again to really let it solidify whether I like it or not. I mean, that's not terribly unusual, to be honest with you. Let's see. The next one comes to us from Daniel Briggs. And Daniel Briggs writes, "So I can have problems with The Last Jedi? Oh, what a world." Like one of the things I was saying earlier on the John Campea Show earlier today was that, hey, look, just because you like a movie doesn't mean you can't acknowledge the problems with it. As a matter of fact, if you're a healthy fan, you're a fan who can say you love something, but acknowledge the weaknesses in it. And specifically, we were talking about The Last Jedi. So yes, I've acknowledged several problems I have with The Last Jedi. Finn's storyline with Rose, even though I love John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran, I think they're both great. I love their characters, but I did not like their story arc at all, or how their scenes played out in The Last Jedi. I also was not a fan of Benicio del Toro's role in the movie. But John, how can you nitpick at it if you like the movie? Because I'm not mentally weak. I like the movie. I really enjoy the movie, but I have certain problems with it. And I think as a healthy fan, you've got to be able to do that. So yes, Daniel, you can say you have problems with The Last Jedi. Absolutely. Manuel Fernandez writes, "Here's a real thinker. Do you think the film industry will last at least 100 years, if not more, or will there be a time when the industry falls altogether?" No, the industry's not going to fall. The industry will evolve. Just like the music industry didn't fall, the music industry evolved. You know, the music industry used to be all about buying your records at the local music store. That used to be what it was about. It's not that the music industry fell, it's that the music industry evolved. Music is still there. Movies will always be there. What form and how the industry evolves, that's the question. Will it be streaming? Will it be something else entirely that we haven't even considered yet? That's the question. And absolutely, like even 10 years from now, the movie industry will look different than it does today. How will it look different? Not really sure about that. But even 10 years from now, it's going to be different. So it's not about it falling. Movies will always be there. The question is, how will it evolve? How will it change? Those are the real questions about the industry, and that's what we're going to have to wait and find out. Thanks a lot, Manuel. All right, the next one comes to us from Fabio Smurgilio, who writes, "Hey, John, any news about Indiana Jones 5? I'm thrilled, but also pretty nervous about it. It will be hard to see someone else filling the main role." Well, I mean, look, first of all, I don't even know that this movie's going to happen. But secondly, they seem pretty insistent that Harrison Ford is going to play it. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. And they've said dates, and they said we're doing this and this. I'll be honest with you. I feel still kind of skeptical. No matter how much they come out and say this is happening, I still actually feel kind of skeptical that it's actually going to happen. I don't have a lot of confidence that this movie's actually going to happen, but hey, who knows? Let's wait and find out. Okay, next one comes to us from Emmanuel Ibanez, who writes, "Good morrow, John. Do you feel that some of the disappointment some people are expressing after The Last Jedi stem from what they wanted to see?" Well, to be honest with you, Emmanuel, I think, sure. I think whenever some of us go into any movie that we go into movies with, I specifically want to see this, this, and this. You've heard me talk about that before, that I try to avoid doing that if I can. But will that affect our enjoyment? If the specific things we wanted to see didn't happen, does that affect our enjoyment? Sure, to a degree. However, I'd really want to caution you and all of us, and I say this all the time, against trying to come up with excuses for why other people may not like the movie we like. We shouldn't get into that habit. Can the movie not hitting certain specific expectations affect our viewing experience? Sure, yeah, absolutely. But let's not get in the habit of making excuses for them. Let's not be those people who go, well, I really liked The Last Jedi. You didn't? Oh, well, then you just didn't because of this excuse, and this excuse. No. Let's just assume that they didn't like a film that we liked because they didn't like it. All film's subjective. That's totally fine. So it's totally cool. So I just want to really stress, let's not get in the habit of making excuses for why people who didn't like movies we didn't like them. Let's just accept, hey, the movie didn't work for them and move on. I mean, it's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, thanks a lot for the question, Ibanez. Next one comes to us from Cameron Peterson, who writes, "Do you think Sony would do a Deadpool/Spider-Man movie?" Well, that would be difficult because Sony doesn't have the rights to Deadpool. Marvel does. Could Marvel make a deal with Sony to let Sony? Yeah, they could, but I don't think Marvel's looking to, lend out some of their most popular and profitable characters. And all of a sudden, Deadpool is one of their most popular and profitable characters. So I don't think there's any way you're going to see Marvel lend out Deadpool. It's not going to happen. Sony doesn't have the rights to him, so I think the likelihood of seeing Deadpool and Spider-Man movie from Sony is pretty slim. What are the chances of Marvel doing it? Well, it depends. If Sony wants to remember, the rights to Spider-Man still belong to Sony. They're in control of what happens to Spider-Man. So if Marvel wanted to do a Spider-Man and Deadpool movie, then would Sony allow them to do it? That's another question. That's a totally separate question. I don't see why not, especially if they're going to make the money off it, because here's the other thing. Any Spider-Man Deadpool movie that they make, all the box office goes to Sony. Sony would pay Marvel a production fee, a pretty hefty production fee, but then the box office goes to them, so I guess Sony would be okay from it, but you will not see a Sony-produced Deadpool Spider-Man movie for those reasons. All right, let's go on. Geraldo Riaz writes, so everyone else is already putting up spoiler reviews of Star Wars. Why are you doing it? Why aren't you doing yours until Sunday? Really love to hear your thoughts on it. Well, the reason I just chose not to put up my spoiler review until Sunday is because it was important to me that I wanted to do the spoiler review of Star Wars The Last Jedi live. Because I wanted it to be an interaction. I wanted to have people's opinions and questions and thoughts and being able to interact. And what's the point of doing a spoiler review like that on Thursday if nobody's seen the movie yet? What's the point of even doing it on Friday when only a certain percentage of people have had a chance to see it yet? So I've been saying that I was going to do my spoiler review on Sunday because that gives everybody Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to see the movie. And then they can come and participate in the live, interactive spoiler review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. So, hey, look, everybody else wants to put theirs up on Friday. Perfectly fine. I get it. They're going for the traffic. Nothing wrong with that. So they want to get it up early. Totally fine. If the movie's already open, you're totally within your rights to put up a spoiler review. That's great. And I could have as well. But I wanted to wait until Sunday when everybody had a chance to see it because I want to do mine live. If I was just going to do a spoiler review without interaction with the viewers, I might have just gone ahead and put it up already. But I wanted to interact with the viewers over it. That means I need to give everybody a chance to see it, so that's why I'm putting it up on Sunday. Thanks a lot for the question. I'm glad you were interested. Thank you for that. All right, next one up here. Alan Gonzalez Cordova writes, I think the DCEU suffered with the Suicide movie. If you're talking about Suicide Squad, I agree. Suicide Squad is a movie I liked, and I give a positive review to. That's the review that I infamously dressed up as Harley Quinn and did my review for, because I had a lot of fun with the movie. I did. I don't care. I'll admit it. I had a lot of fun with Suicide Squad. I like that movie. But it was incredibly divisive amongst the fans, and it turned a lot of fans off the DCEU. I mean, it did. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it worked for other people. And there you have it. And I'm not going to make excuses as to why they didn't like it. They just didn't like it. Fine. Ultimately, I think that even though it made money at the box office, it overperformed. Did it do damage to the DCU? I think probably, yeah. I think ultimately Suicide Squad did some damage. But that's just my opinion. Some other people might have different opinions. All right. Next one comes to us from Calaver Tunes, who writes, do you think that Disney will make any rewrites on Deadpool 2 to make it fit with the MCU? Well, it's an interesting question because, look, they've got it now. It's coming out. They're going to merge them in with the MCU. Will they make rewrites? Here's the catch, and I've been bringing this up a bunch lately. Deadpool 2, the Phoenix, X-Men Phoenix, and New Mutants are all already shot. Those movies are shot. They're done. Now, they're still doing post-production. Yes. Could they come back and do a few reshoots if they want to? I guess they could, but they wouldn't be able to do much. So, on that basis alone, I'm going to say no. However, could they throw in a really cool after-credit scene if they wanted to? Sure, they could. But here's the big thing, though. I think Disney needs time to figure out how they want to integrate X-Men and Deadpool and Fantastic Four. So I don't know that they want to rush ahead and start putting scenes in movies when maybe in a few months they might decide on a different direction. So is it possible they could do some rewrites on it and shoot a couple of scenes in some reshoots? I guess it's possible, but just last-second reshoots, we saw what happened with Justice League, right? So I don't think Marvel or Disney is going to be in the vein to do that. I think they're just going to let the Phoenix movie, the New Mutants, and Deadpool, I think they're just going to let those movies come out as they are, and then they'll deal with everything else later. That's how I think they're going to do it, but you never know. They might do it a different way. All right, next question comes to us from Curtis Lopez. And Curtis Lopez writes, do you think the MCU will address Aunt May knowing Peter is Spider-Man? Well, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the last scene that we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming was Aunt May discovering that Peter is Spider-Man. So will they address it? Yeah, that's part of the universe now. Aunt May knows he's Spider-Man. Marvel is not the Fox X-Men universe where they go continuity, schmontinuity. They address continuity in the Marvel universe. Aunt May discovered that Peter was Spider-Man. Therefore, that will be addressed. That will be a part of Spider-Man from now on, that Aunt May knows who he is. So anyway, let's see. Mega Movies writes, will Fox make Dark Phoenix rated R since it's their last movie? I think it would be perfect for fans that want a great Dark Phoenix adaptation. Well, look, here, this is a misconception. You can make it dark and have it PG-13. Oh, but I want them to say fuck. Well, if that's the difference between you thinking it's a good movie and a bad movie, I don't know how to help you. I mean, so, and look, and the other thing is it goes back to the Deadpool 2 thing. The Dark Phoenix movie, that movie's already shot. It's done. They're done shooting. It's now in post-production. So that movie already is what it already is. And I'm sure it's going to be dark, and I'm sure it's going to be like heavens, Dark Knight was a dark film. and it's PG-13. So, I mean, dropping F-bombs doesn't make a movie dark. Showing tits does not make a movie dark. So you can do this movie perfectly as it is, and it still be dark, and it still be PG-13. And again, besides all that, the even more important part is the movie's already shot. So there's really nothing to do at this point moving forward. And also, we don't know that this is going to be the last movie. We don't know. We don't know that this is going to be the last X-Men movie. For all we know, Disney's going to just keep going ahead with this cast of X-Men and doing their films that way. We don't know. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. So let's keep that in mind too. All right, just 3 questions left here. This one comes to us from Jonathan J, who writes, "Hey John, now that Fox-Disney hybrid is complete, would you like a proper X-Men rogue story? Spoiler, Miss Marvel, would it be a good female superhero crossover story? No. First of all, it would screw up everything because they've already got their Captain Marvel story going. They already know what they're doing with that. And honestly, as much as I liked Rogue in the X-Men movies, would I be interested in one focused on her? To be honest, no. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think the majority of the audience would be all that interested either. I think she's a great supporting character. Would I want to see her as the lead centerpiece of a movie? I don't think so. And again, I could be wrong, but I don't think the rest of the audience really are all that interested in it either. All right, next question comes to us from Mega Movies again, who writes, "Will Alien be PG now that Fox owns it?" Now that Fox owns it, you mean now that Disney owns it? Again, I believe the Alien film is done shooting. Oh, sorry. I was thinking Predator. I don't think we're going to see any more Alien movies, to be honest with you. After the performance of Alien Covenant, and it took a nosedive from the previous Alien movie, I'll be honest with you, no matter what Ridley Scott says, I have my doubts we're even going to see another Alien movie. If we do, it might not be for a few years. And no, it won't necessarily be PG-13. Look, Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, has already mentioned that, hey, he's open to the idea. He thinks there's a place for R-rated material in Marvel. He thinks, or in Disney. He thinks there's a place for it, as long as you let the audience know what they're in for. So that's fine too. Again, I think the more fundamental question is anybody even going to do another Alien film after the kind of disappointment of the last one? And I think this might be a franchise that's run out of gas. I really do. I think this is a franchise that's run out of gas. And I liked Alien Covenant, but I mean, call it like I see it. It looks like it's run out of gas and the fans aren't all that interested in it anymore. The last question today comes to us from, where is this coming to us from? This is coming to us from Marquise Brown, who, let me get this back in the screen here. Sorry, I didn't have this set up properly. And Marquise Brown writes, Marquise Rayon writes, why did I say Brown? Marquise Rayon writes, where did it go? I lost it. Hey, John, is Reed Richards part of the MCU since they mentioned his name in Captain America Winter Soldier? I don't think they mentioned Reed Richards' name in Captain America Winter Soldier. I know they mentioned Stephen Strange's name, which is weird that they did that. I know they mentioned Stephen Strange's name, but I do not recall them mentioning Reed. For those of you guys, listen, if those of you guys can point me out, am I wrong about that? I'm assuming you're talking about that scene on the rooftop where the agent's listing off all those names. I don't remember Reed Richards being one of those names. Maybe I'm wrong. Can you guys let me know? Jump into the comment section and let me know if that's there. Yeah, I got some other people in the chat board because I'm doing the show live right now saying, no, they mentioned Dr. Strange, Stephen Strange, but they do not mention, they don't mention Reed Richards at all. Okay, yeah, so no. So there you go, Marquez. They did not mention Reed Richards. You're probably thinking of the Stephen Strange reference. All right, guys, that will do it for this follow-up video to the John Campea Show from earlier today. I will continue to do these videos, these little side videos, that if I ever run out of time on the John Campea Show and there's still outstanding questions, I'll try to do them in these little extra companion videos. For those of you watching live, thanks so much for watching. I didn't even promote this one, and a bunch of you guys here watching live, thank you so much for that. Don't forget, guys, subscribe to this YouTube channel, click the thumbs up button, leave a thought in the comment section below, and follow me on social media, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for joining me, and until the next video, bye-bye.